All right, Neil, Penn State comes to Northwestern and almost gets its third shutout, but a 31-7 win. Defense was exceptional. The offense wasn't great, but well, this defense has really outdone expectations so far.
Yeah, it may be the fastest defense that Penn State really has ever had, and it's so young. These defensive ends that they're throwing out there, Shaka Toney, Sharif Miller, I mean, these guys are athletic and fast, and they're not overly big. That was one thing that was made, that was talked about in the post game, is James Franklin said you got to get used to a new breed of defensive ends, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, very impressive. Now, Saquon Barkley did not have a big day, but he did have a 53-yard touchdown run, and so when this ongoing Heisman ordeal, we're going to have to be watching for that every week. Oklahoma got stunned as a 31-point favorite at home to Iowa State, so that hurts Baker Mayfield. So really, outside of the Stanford running back Bryce Love, who leads the nation in rushing, there's really just not another candidate right now.
Right. I think it's going to be a marathon. I mean, each candidate's going to have a bad game here or there, especially if you're playing 12 or 13 games. The highlight, he jumped him over from 1 yard out. He hadn't really shown that yet this year, but the 53-yard run was a great run. He missed a chance for a reception in the end zone, which would have added to his day. But just overall, I thought the offense was just a bit off most of the day. The offensive line probably played its worst game of the year.
The offensive line has issues. Trace McSorley did complete 15 consecutive passes, which broke Kerry Collins' school record. But here's the thing. This is what we talk about. These teams are all going to load up to stop Saquon Barkley on the ground. They did today. Indiana did yesterday. So I think this season is going to depend on Trace McSorley's arm.
Well, it is, but I think they're also showing that a great team has different ways to win. Last week it was special teams. This week it was defense. It has been the offense at times. Now you get an open date at 6-0. I think everybody's a little bit flawed out there. But they're going to have to figure out the offensive line. I don't know whether, obviously with Andrew Nelson didn't make the trip. Mike Gesicki was hurt. He played through it. They put Chaz Wright in there. He's not 100%. So I don't know whether they have to go back to the drawing board and get some other guys involved, or just hope these guys get healthy.
All right. Bye week, then Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State. So that's a tough 3-game stretch. But here's the bottom line. They're rolling people. This was a 24-point win. They beat Indiana by 31. Yep. There are flaws. So where do you stand on how much do you want to nitpick the things that can be nitpicked versus you step back and say they're kicking rear and they're winning easily in a lot of these games?
Yeah, I think both. You want to measure them against these people that they're going to be ultimately judged on. It looks to me like there's maybe a bigger gap between the elite of the Big Ten and some of the other teams. Usually you come out here to Northwestern, you get a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Usually, I was real disappointed in Northwestern today. That's uncharacteristic.
It's the worst I've ever seen them play against.
Yeah, they had 8 penalties. You got 2 guys ejected. Just really didn't compete. And really beat themselves in a lot of ways. In the first half, had they been able to punch something in early, it might have been taken on a different complexion. So, I don't know. There may be a bigger gap between Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan than there is in the rest, than there had been last year.
And I think everything you said is right, but I chalk it up to college football. Oklahoma lost at home to Iowa State. Clemson beat Wake today 28-14. You're going to have these close games because despite what James Franklin calls every week a Super Bowl, it's hard to get up for every single game. I do expect them to be up for Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State.
Absolutely. This is a great 3-game stretch, and maybe the game that they didn't play all that well, then they ended up winning the game against Iowa, is going to bloom real large as we go. Hey, how about a shout out to Ira Kaufman giving us a hand with the video tonight. Good to see you, Ira.
All right. For Neil, I'm Cory. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the bye week.